The Psalms are tremendously cosmic in scope. Sometimes the Psalms are like an intense private conversation between the psalmist and God, but at other times they are like a panoramic painting of God's sovereign rule over the universe. In truth, we need both perspectives to see God's immanence and his transcendence, his intimate care, and his universal power. Psalm 46, to the choirmaster of the sons of Korah, according to Alamoth, a song. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear though the earth give way, though the mountains be moved into the heart of the sea, though its waters roar and foam, though the mountains tremble at its swelling. Selah. There is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, the holy habitation of the Most High. God is in the midst of her. She shall not be moved. God will help her when morning dawns. The nations rage, the kingdoms totter. He utters his voice, the earth melts. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. Selah. Come, behold the works of the Lord, how he has brought desolations on the earth. He makes wars cease to the end of the earth. He breaks the bow and shatters the spear. He burns the chariots with fire. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. Selah. Psalm 46 is a robust, defiant song that was likely composed in a time of crisis in Israel. The title, according to Alamoth, either refers to a musical tone or tune that fits the occasion, and the psalm begins with a firm declaration of trust. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. The psalmist affirms three ways that God assists his people. He is their refuge, or their external protection. He is their strength, or internal power. And he is very present, or ready and able to step in at a moment's notice. The fact that we would need a refuge implies some danger, which the psalmist goes on to describe in verses 2 and 3. Therefore, we will not fear though the earth give way, though the mountains be moved into the heart of the sea, though its waters roar and foam, though the mountains tremble at its swelling. Here are four dangers that go beyond mere natural disasters. While earthquakes and landslides are devastating, what the psalmist describes are more like cosmic catastrophes, the upheaval of everything we know and take for granted. Mountains are perhaps the most stable thing in the created world, but what if they were kicked like pebbles into the ocean? What if that which is most steady was hurled into that which is the most restless and chaotic? What if the third day of creation was undone? What if everything God made went back to its primordial state? What if our world became formless and void once again? While we may have experienced avalanches and hurricanes, the psalmist invites us to think more broadly. What are the times in your life in which everything you held dear was suddenly threatened? When all the peace in your life was shattered by the dangers and disasters of a fallen, broken world? Then where will you find safety? The opening verse points us to God as the only refuge, and the rest of the psalm will make the case that no matter what, the presence of God is the only thing that makes sense in the midst of chaos. The scene changes suddenly from the frothy foam of the sea to the steady flow of a river. There is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, the holy habitation of the Most High. God is in the midst of her. She shall not be moved. God will help her when morning dawns. In the Bible, water is a symbol both for menacing danger like the sea and for life-giving peace like a stream. We're told here that a river flows through the city of God, which is the first mention of this city in the book of Psalms. But curiously, if we are picturing Jerusalem, there is no actual river in that city. It's an arid place. That is one clue that when the psalmists speak of Jerusalem or the city of God or Zion, they're speaking about more than a physical place. The city is an emblem for the people of God as a whole, the people who enjoy the blessing and grace of God's presence among them. In other words, the city of God is wherever God dwells. These lines also echo Eden, the garden of plentiful rivers where God lived with his people. We get a repetition of the word moved. So whereas earlier the mountains could be moved into the heart of the sea, a city where God dwells cannot be shifted, cannot be shaken. He is like the steadfast sun which rises without fail. God's light brings life and hope and strength, and he is always available no matter what trouble we encounter. There's one more use of the word moved, and it's translated in the ESV as totter. Verse 6, the nations rage, the kingdoms totter. He utters his voice, the earth melts. Rage and melts are the same words translated as the roar of the waters and the earth giving way earlier in the psalm. So we find a clear parallel between the chaos of nature's upheaval to the chaos of human evil. What brings danger, trouble, unrest? Sometimes it's the circumstances around us, but at other times it is the noise of warlike nations, violent people, whisperers and schemers, shouts and screams, threats and abuse in a world of merciless nature and merciless men. The psalmist points again to where we can find our true refuge. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. So far in Psalm 46, God has been the steady rock, but in the last part of the psalm, he takes action. Verses 8 and 9. Come, behold the works of the Lord, how he has brought desolations on the earth. He makes wars cease to the ends of the earth. He breaks the bow and shatters the spear. He burns the chariots with fire. The nations that rage are invited to see the God who is sovereign over nature, over people, and even over the whole warring world. He is the peacemaker who will make wars end, even if he has to melt down the guns and burn the missile silos. Derek Kidner comments, quote, although the outcome is peace, the process is judgment, a world devastated and forcibly disarmed, end quote. Finally, God himself speaks in a verse that may be familiar. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. Typically, this verse is used alongside a morning devotional with some coffee and a comfortable blanket. You're in your cabin, the sun is coming up, and you take a deep breath. Be still. And certainly, we should find peace and rest in knowing that God is God and we are not. And yet, the context for this verse is less like a soothing lullaby and more like a battle cry. This psalm is nothing less than God's declaration of war against wars. The Lord rebukes a restless world. Stop. Why? So that the world might know that he is God, that he is the exalted one, that he deserves all glory and praise. Finally, the psalm ends with the refrain from verse 7 repeated once more. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. The first time we heard this chorus, it emphasized God's protection of his people. And here, after God's cry for peace, it emphasizes God's purpose for his people, to join in his mission and be peacemakers in the world. I should also mention that there are 3 instances of the word Selah in the psalm that all invite us to pause, consider, and respond. Both God's people and the world are commanded to come, to behold, to be still. When the mountains shake, when the nations rage, when the dust settles, here is our refuge. God is with us. He alone can protect and preserve his people. Psalm 46 mentions a city that is the holy habitation of the Most High, and that phrase alludes to 2 Old Testament passages. First, the word habitation is an intensification of the word tabernacle, the holy tent of meeting. Second, the title Most High echoes the words of the prophet Melchizedek in Genesis 14, who served in the city of Salem, or Jerusalem. It's likely that the Apostle John had this psalm in mind as he wrote the introduction to the Gospel of John, especially this verse. And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we have seen his glory. Glory as of the only Son from the Father, full of grace and truth. In Jesus, in Emmanuel, God with us, we have both a priest and a place of refuge. Jesus is the victor over the chaotic waters, shouting, "Peace, be still," to the raging sea. Jesus is the source of living water, who will satisfy anyone who drinks of him. And Jesus is the ultimate peacemaker, who died and rose again to bring the beginning of the end to all wars and conflicts. By his blood, he has broken down the walls of hostility. He took all wars, all violence, all feuds, all sin into himself and said, "Enough! Be still and know that I am God. I will make a new humanity that is not characterized by oppression or injustice, but by peace that knocks down walls to welcome others in." And after his resurrection, Jesus commissioned his followers to bring his message of peace and blessing to all the world. Are you under threat? Are you in trouble? Do you need safety? God is our refuge and strength, and because Emmanuel is with us, he is a very present help in times of chaos. Martin Luther, who wrote the psalm, "A Mighty Fortress is Our God," based on this psalm, he once said to his fellow reformer Philip Melanchthon, "Come, Philip, let us sing the 46th psalm, and let the devil do his worst." That is the posture of those who pray this psalm, confident, defiant, and peaceful in the strong, safe fortress of God. Whether you are in crisis now or not, Psalm 46 is a rich place to pray for comfort and strength. Here are some suggestions to get you started. When you feel unsafe, when you feel weak, when you feel afraid, when you need someone to help you right now in this instant, very present, when you hike up a mountain or stand on the seashore, when you experience a natural disaster and need to find shelter, when something that was sure and steady in your life gets blown away by the wind and you are left feeling exposed and vulnerable, when you hear gentle water sounds like a babbling stream and you take a deep, calming breath, when you seek the welfare of your city but know that your true citizenship is in the heavenly Jerusalem, your eternal home, when the nations rage and kingdoms totter, when world events are frightening and the future is uncertain, when violent people clamor and roar and make so much noise, when the morning dawns and you rejoice because God is even more steadfast than the rising sun, when you long for God to make wars cease once and for all, when evil people use their weapons to harm the innocent, when another school shooting or assassination grieves your soul, when you are so busy that you realize you have neglected silence, stillness, and solitude in the presence of God, when you find refuge in the Sovereign Father, the Son who is Emmanuel, and the Holy Spirit who dwells in you. Psalm 46, to the choir master of the sons of Korah, according to Alamoth, a song. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear though the earth give way, though the mountains be moved into the heart of the sea, though its waters roar and foam, though the mountains tremble at its swelling. Selah. There is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, the holy habitation of the Most High. God is in the midst of her. She shall not be moved. God will help her when morning dawns. The nations rage, the kingdoms totter. He utters his voice, the earth melts. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. Selah. Come, behold the works of the Lord, how he has brought desolations on the earth. He makes wars cease to the end of the earth. He breaks the bow and shatters the spear. He burns the chariots with fire. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. Selah. Thank you for listening to the Woven Psalms. This podcast is a ministry of Rock Hill Community Church in Duluth, Minnesota. I'm Mike Solis. I'm a pastor at Rock Hill and the writer of this podcast. Ethan Gibbs is our producer, editor, and composer of the theme music. Our logo was designed by Bo Walsh. This podcast uses the English Standard Version, published by Crossway. We want to give a special thanks to Poor Bishop Hooper for allowing us to use the music from their Every Psalm project. If you've enjoyed the podcast, please share it with others. You can learn more about our work at wovenpsalms.com.